In Sierra Leone, if you want to sit down and talk to someone, if you want to sit down and talk to someone, almost anyone will sit down and talk with you. They'll listen. Now that's a great thing about Sierra Leone and about West Africa as a whole, I think, is that the people there are very humble. They're very teachable, and they're not, too busy to just sit down and talk for a minute. Now, their life is a little bit more relaxed, and they tend to be, like I said, more humble. And so, if you walk up to someone and you say, "Hey, I have a message to share. Would you mind if I just took a few minutes and sat down and shared with you a message about God?" They would do it. They'd be like, "Oh, sure, yeah." And they'd be, if they were out, selling things or just out doing housework or something like that, they'd more than likely take a few minutes and sit down and talk with you. And so, you could, if you wanted to, just spend all your time just teaching lessons on the streets. And so, finding people to teach is usually not the hardest part of a mission in Africa, and that's or at least in West Africa. And that at least that's what I found, is that people there are very willing to hear the gospel. Whether or not they're willing to follow it, though, that's the tricky thing. Finding someone who is, at a point in their life that they're willing to actually make changes, not just listen to someone, but also to make changes in their life, to give up old habits, or to give up, practices that they've been doing for a long time, to do something that requires a lot of effort. When you're making the transition from living a non-gospel oriented life to changing to a gospel oriented life, it requires a lot of change. And so that becomes one of the hard things, is to try and find people that are willing to make the change, not just to hear you, not even just to get baptized. Sometimes, you could probably baptize many people that were not truly converted, and that hadn't really changed their life over, or had not truly given their life over to God. And so that becomes part of the work of a missionary, is to kind of sift through the people, find those that truly are prepared, and those that are ready and to accept the gospel wholeheartedly into their lives.